Hello and welcome back. I'm here with my good friend Tracy.
I'm here with my wonderful friend Amber.
And this is the Road to Tar Valon, a Wheel of Time podcast, talking today about episode 9 of House of the Dragon. We are going to jump right into it, and we have this young little boy wandering through the dark castle, and he shows up and tells Alicent's handmaiden that the king is dead, and she informs Alicent, and off we go.
I loved how beautifully this was filmed, by the way.
Cinematography here was great.
This is another one of the Claire Kilner directed episodes. I think that the episodes that she's directed have been really stunning. I would say each one of the ones that she's done, because she also did the episode where Daemon takes young Rhaenyra. Yeah. And like
she's had the Outside and King's Landing episodes, you know?
Yeah.
This was on my list of things that I wanted, but I wanted to get outside of the castle and see what more of the people were doing and how things are going there.
Yeah.
So really appreciated that this episode was great.
And to see like the weird violent things that happen in Flea Bottom, like, whoa, that blew my mind. The last thing on the opening scene, again, this is where I think House of the Dragon is doing such a good job. It's just that quick dash through the kitchen. It's super fast, and just even giving that little tiny bit of attention to something so small can make such a big difference in how a scene feels and how a show feels. Like,
yes,
it just feels so much more centered around home and hearth and family in some ways when you involve a kitchen scene.
Yeah, it's really nice to see the interior shots within the castle, and you get a feel for what is the world like here.
Yeah.
It feels like the world is alive and people are busy and working, and it feels really immersive.
Yeah.
So Otto and Alicent have a meeting, and she's like, yo, the king named Aegon his heir. And we have this conversation where I roll. I mean, Alicent knew about the prophecy. Like, Viserys had told her previously. So I guess she's a huge hypocrite. I shouldn't be surprised about anything. But I guess this is what gave her that little nudge to kind of fully move over to being open to her son usurping, I guess. And I liked how, as this scene was going on, we get this little flash of the handmaid lighting the candles in the window. So things are happening.
Things are definitely happening. With this scene, I feel that Alicent has this look like she kind of hoped for this, but she doesn't really necessarily want this or know what to do with it, and now it's just all been kind of dropped here, and I think she's looking for help, aid, something from Otto, and he looks like he just got a pony for Christmas.
Yeah.
You know? He's like, woohoo! It's all I ever wanted!
Yeah.
And I know why they don't stop to ask this question. Like, this group of people has completely disregarded the fact that the actual heir to the throne has an heir named Aegon.
Yeah, there's another Aegon.
There's another Aegon. So why is it Alicent? Come on. You just went. There was so much that had just happened before poor, drug-addled Viserys was like talking to someone and didn't even realize who the fuck he was talking to. And she's like, oh, of course it's our Aegon. Yeah. You know, Viserys has only stood by his decision for 20 years.
Right.
You know, it could only be our Aegon. And I'm like, I know why you guys don't want to see this, but it's real frustrating that no one has mentioned it at all yet. At all.
Yeah, and I like to call attention to the sheer hypocrisy of Alicent. Later on in this episode, she has a conversation with Rhaenys where she kind of throws it in Rhaenys' face, like, you're fine with just letting your husband call the shots,
Mm-hmm.
and he has ambition for power, and you're letting it happen. You know, those aren't your relatives. You're not related. They're bastards. But she's so blinded that she doesn't make the connection of what her own father is doing to her, where it's like this whole talk about like letting a man like overtake the situation and call the shots, but like Alicent is doing the exact same thing. Hello.
But then you were talking about Talia lighting the candles. Is this a secret code?
Yes.
Is this like her secret spy code where she's like, okay, that's what I thought too.
Absolutely, I think so.
Yeah.
So we move to the small council meeting. Lord Beesbury is murdered by Kristen Cole. Like, pour one out for Lord Beesbury. He was a real one.
He really tried. Poor guy.
But I'm like, okay, this guy has been around for so long. He's seen so many things. And to be just so unsanctimoniously, like, head bashed in by Kristen Cole again.
Oof.
This guy. I really liked the statement by Tywin Lannister where he's kind of like, things are going into motion now.
Yep.
Like, all the talk is about Aegon and everyone's pretty much in on it. Everyone's cool, have been planning for Aegon anyways. And Tywin says Storm's End is a concern. And I really love the inclusion of this line into the dialogue because when we get to season 2, we're going to see all of the other houses choosing sides. And to start getting an idea of that now is really important. Council plans to kill Rhaenyra and her family. Otto commands Lord Commander Westerling to go to Dragonmount and murder Rhaenyra and family. He balls up his cloak, puts it down. He's like, not happening. I resign from the Kingsguard until there's a king. Which, I mean, phrasing. He doesn't say queen, but I guess that was smart on his behalf.
I did not catch that. Although I liked that it was pointed out because, you know, Otto keeps running around saying things like, in the name of the king's justice and for the king and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there's no king yet. There's still technically no king. So who's justice? And this guy is like, you know what? Nope, not doing it.
Yeah.
What they're doing is so wrong on so many levels. And again, fucking Kristen Cole gets nothing for killing someone in front of a room full of people.
Total pass.
Like, the Lord Commander goes after him for like all of 2 seconds, and then the Queen is like, everything is fine.
And this brings up the question of why did they let Lord Commander Westerling go?
Just walk out of the room?
Right? Sometimes there's these question marks where I'm
like, yeah. Like, one of the small council members is like, we should remove Lord Beesbury's body, and Otto is like, no one leaves until we're done with our business. But then Lord Westerling just walks out the door. Nobody even makes an attempt to stop him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it seemed like they really wanted to keep everything super under wraps. And then this guy just walks. I mean, it would have made so much more sense to just have
to imprison him
or have Kristen Cole just kill him. He kills people at a whim for no reason with no repercussions. So what, like, if you want this secret kept this badly, you've already started one body count, what, less than 10 minutes into the announcement that Aegon's going to be king? Send Kristen Cole after the guy who may potentially blab all over everything. Because, you know, if the Queen...
Yeah.
I was about to say if the Queen told him to do it, but I can't see Alicent actually making that command in that moment. I have some very mixed feelings about Alicent after this episode. Very mixed.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very mixed feelings about Alicent.
Let's continue forward because there's so much that happens towards the latter half of this episode.
Yeah.
Aegon is missing. We move again to Otto dispatching Lord Eric and his brother, who are both of the Kingsguard, to go find Aegon.
Yeah.
Rhaenys is locked in her room. Alicent dispatches Kristen Cole, and Aemond goes with him to find Aegon. And then we're on the streets of King's Landing. we have this assembly in the throne room. Otto has anyone who is not loyal to his cause and Aegon as king disposed of, essentially. And we have Lares watching from overhead, creeping in total creep mode.
Such a creep.
Our guy, Lord Caswell, he's thinking about it. You know, he stays standing for a few moments until he sees the others being ushered out.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, he kneels and
Yep.
things seem to be okay for him. But as we see later on, he's not okay.
Not
okay at all.
Okay. Nope.
Then we move to the streets of King's Landing and we get this child fighting pit. And
what is this? What is this?
Here's the thing. There's nothing redeeming about Aegon. This is like his place where he hangs out, apparently, which is like...
Yeah.
And then it's alluded to that there's this other, like, little blonde-haired child in there, and they're like, that's one of Aegon's. So, like, he has bastards of his own.
Yep.
Alicent probably doesn't... I'm sure if she knew about it, she would be upset, but she's been taking precaution to not let this happen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that it is happening, and this is the same thing that she was berserk over Rhaenyra for doing. So
yeah,
this woman, man.
Yeah.
Man. And this kid, his own children in child slave fighting pits. So
it is really hellacious. This is another scene filmed really, really well. And I think had it been filmed differently, it would have been almost impossible to watch because of the content of it. But because so much of it was shot
from afar or really up close.
Yeah, or like on the crowd, through the crowd, kind of like blocking the view of what's happening. The minute there was a child's face with filed down teeth, I almost had to like press that forward 15 seconds thing because I didn't know if I was going to be able to handle what came next. And I really felt like this got across the absolute horror of what this was without being like so bad that I didn't feel like vomiting immediately.
They have this shot from up close of the teeth.
Yeah.
And then once again, it's kind of like far away and you see them kind of like lashing with claws out at each other.
Yeah.
But it's in a way that it's almost like it doesn't feel as personal because of the way that the camera moves.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't almost like stationary, like someone standing there watching.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to have one of the, is it Eric or Arik? Gosh, I mean, really?
Yeah.
Guys, come on. Come on. Rhaenyra and Rhaenys, Arik and Eric, you couldn't. There has to be a better supply of names so we don't get quite so confused. But what the one who's like, Aegon is a piece of shit is like, do you see what he is now? Do you see? Like, he's trying to get his brother, his twin brother, to realize that the person that they are trying to bring back and have crowned is a piece of shit human being. And his brother is like, following orders. It's cool. Gonna keep moving forward with this. How could you still feel that way after seeing the child fighting pit? How could you still be okay with that guy?
Are these people immune to like what goes on in this world, maybe? Like, it's just so prevalent that it's like, oh yeah, that's just the way of the world.
This
like,
is the norm.
I don't know. Right? This is why I think we need to see more often, like, what's happening on the streets. The outside view of people who are just not within the castle, because it's easier to understand people's motivations when we understand, like, their worldview and, like, we see it.
I do think we get a good hint in this episode that King's Landing is going to become more about the people of King's Landing in the future.
Everything going on with Mysaria is interesting to me. It feels like her accent changes, though.
It's really inconsistent. It's like, it's
sometimes
almost...
I'm getting like the German where it's hard to pronounce like a TH from her. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of like a, and then I'm like, wait, is that like Caribbean?
Right.
Or, like,
where are you from? Who is your
It's all
vocal
part
coach?
of her disguise. Yeah.
You never can pin her down as to where she might be from because she's just always rotating through accents.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
This makes more sense. I can be down with that if this is a form of disguise.
New headcanon.
That's right. I accept this now. Thank you. I thought this was really neat how they were doing this almost like layered piece in this section where it's Cole and Aemond having their little side story. Eric and Eric too are having their side story, and poor Lord Caswell is having his moment as well. And as we get to it, it's not just that Aegon is not fit to be king. Otto is definitely not fit to be advisor to the king, because poor Lord Caswell gets grabbed from out of the courtyard just as he's getting ready to leave. He's brought to Otto, and Otto's last statement is, "Let the king's justice take him." Mm-hmm. And again,
whose justice? What king?
No
Where's the king?
There's no king, Amber.
Yeah.
Who's he talking about? And do you know what form the king's justice takes? Hanging him inside the Red Keep. Inside. They are hanging bodies of people who are not on their team inside the Red Keep. That is some dark shit. That's dark.
It's incredibly threatening. I mean,
right?
It makes sense that they would do that, but this is like total dictator move.
1000%.
There's no question here. Mm-hmm. Like, no question. It's just, terrible across the board. There's no way to work that out in any other way.
Nope. With Otto, it's all like death or nothing.
Which is really interesting in the way that they portrayed him as being hand to the king, because when he's with Viserys, it's all buddy-buddy, like, you're just a laid-back, gentle guy. Go with your heart, King V. Like, just everything's all good. But you see, like, that was how he was manipulating him. Now we see this other side of him where, like, as soon as he has control, like, this is how he controls this situation. So again,
and he's been angling for this for so long. Long.
He's had this all worked out. Like, he's had
for
this ready to go.
Long. Yeah. The minute King Viserys' wife died, he was like, "Oh, I have a daughter. She has a womb. I can just like..."
it's not even a daughter. It's, "I have a womb for you. Here, have my womb."
That's like... It's so true. It doesn't, because really, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At all. Oh my God. I mean, seriously, has Alicent not been treated like shit by every single man in her life? All of them.
And she just keeps coming back for more. You want to shake her,
How? Yes. And at the same time, I mean, this started when she was so young. Like, when she was
she's
young.
Been conditioned,
Yep. Breaking out of that when you're trying to, like, find your balance for power and you're trying to protect your family. Like, I think a lot about, well, we can talk about that soon when we get to it. We'll talk about this more later. My Alicent emotions, because
no, go ahead.
There's a lot for. Well, it's the scene with her and Laris later. Watching her throughout this entire episode, going toe to toe with various individuals and all of the men and the degrading ways that they treat her. Just constantly. Like, she's just going from trying to manage one vile man to another, from her father to her son to this weird Laris creepy ass dude. Creepiest. Yeah. Oh my God. Oof, this guy. That scene, Amber.
This is one thing that I have seen some people comment on. And after I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I totally see that. But it's also, like, strange that they chose like the person who has a handicap to be like the creepy McCreeperton, where it's
Oh,
something that happens sometimes in
yeah.
film. They go really far out of their way to make him just really, really icky with
Yeah.
this scene, with the foot
Yeah.
scene.
It's
I don't know what else to call it. It's so gross.
it's so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. And unfortunately, I think this is a really solid real world example of what women are subjected to in order to be able to play in a game of power that's run by all men. It's either emotional manipulation, sexual manipulation, physical manipulation, emotional manipulation. And as a woman, your options are super, super limited. So, what do you do? Who do you trust? And then you get pulled into these really terrible situations where all of a sudden you're showing some dude your feet so he can get off to them so that you can get the information you need so that you can take care of your family. Like, what the fuck kind of situation is that to be in? It's awful, but it's not uncommon, I would say. That kind of exploitation.
Alicent is just, like there's a part, like a very, very tiny part of me that feels sorry for her. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's because like I can't take the real world lens off my eyes where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you're such a hypocrite. Just walk away. Like, what do you want to do? Like you could avoid this if you really wanted to. What is wrong with you where like you're inviting this chaos and danger into your own family?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of mother are you? Like, that's her whole thing. And like you see at the end of this episode, like, she's standing between her children and that dragon.
Yeah, she is.
Like, yeah, she's flinching and like looking away, but she's resolute, like
Mm-hmm.
standing there. So, like,
Yeah.
they're making her out to be like, I will protect my family. Like,
Yep.
I am a mother. Like,
Yeah.
that was her toast to Rhaenyra. Like, we're mothers. See, we can
Mm-hmm.
get along because we have babies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's just throwing her kids into this situation where it's like, that some of these kids are going to end up dead, don't you? You
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's just, she's completely blind or conditioned. And it's like, poor her, but like also you want to shake her. And I don't know. I don't know. Mixed feelings, like
Yeah.
you said.
I think my sympathy level for her has increased quite a bit with this episode, and also thinking more along the lines of like very early Alicent. Her mother dies when she's very young. She gets married to King Viserys when she's also very young, which
Mm-hmm.
puts a huge rift between her and her only other real female friend at a very young age. And a lot of the things that she should have been able to learn in that in between state of being like a young woman to adult woman, all of that got like kind of ripped away from her.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I just kind of started thinking about for her as well, like real world wise, when you are the queen, you don't have friends. Like you can't become queen and then make a bunch of friends and expect them to actually be your real friends. You know? Like
Right.
it's
No
this
one's on that same level as you. It's
yeah. She has no one to advise her.
Oh, poor nobility, poor royals. What a hard life.
I just feel bad for anybody who's had to go through that level of incessant manipulation. Like it's been nonstop for
Yeah.
her for a really
Yeah.
long time. And I just
No, I agree with you in that
yeah.
aspect. But at the same time, I'm like, it's just a huge eye roll for me where I'm like, oh, these people. Yeah.
Do you think that when Otto is given this like proposition from Laris that he is welcome to the information that he's getting one on one from his daughter, that Otto has any idea of what's happening between the two of them? Like it felt so dirty later coming back and looking at that scene where he is like, that time that I spend alone with your daughter doesn't have to just benefit, her and me. Like, I can tell you stuff too. And I'm like, gross, gross.
And I fully believe that if Lares could get more from Otto. Like
Uh-huh.
if there was a way that he could learn more or get a
Mm-hmm.
higher position or
Mm-hmm.
use that to his advantage, he would.
Yep.
But I think it just comes down to Alicent being much easier to manipulate.
Yeah.
What can he get from Otto
Yeah.
that he can't get from Alicent?
Maybe he wants to play both of them. Like in the event that Alicent faction wins with influence over Aegon versus Otto faction winning influence over Aegon. Like maybe he wants to make sure that he's a little bit in each pocket.
Yeah, that would make sense.
It's just
And
another like example of both of them being totally willing to use Alicent.
yeah, so we moved to Alicent meeting with Rhaenys, and I really liked this scene, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
it was a little bit on the nose.
Yeah.
There's this quote from Alicent where she says, "We do not rule, but we guide the men that do away from violence and sure destruction and instead towards peace."
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Rainey saying, "And yet desire not to be free, but to make a window in the wall of your prison." And I thought this was such a
Really
great,
well written.
great
Yep.
scene. The
Mhm.
dialogue was awesome. I think it's interesting that they're just like so open and so forceful with the message here, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It is kind of surprising to see that put almost center stage in a fantasy series.
Yeah.
I don't think it's exactly where you expect to have something that just kind of like smacks you in the face like that. That's just like, I don't know, it has a lot of layers to it, a lot of complexities to it. And I think that it was done beautifully by both actresses. Like there was the face acting in this entire episode. I got Olivia Cooke, the actress that plays
She makes so many
Alicent,
facial expressions.
like,
It's,
and
some of them are almost comical.
right,
Like,
and some of them are just so perfect, just so perfect. And I was just like, man, this scene in particular I thought was really good, like her talking with Rhaenys and whatnot. But
it was probably the best scene, I would say, in the whole episode. But it wasn't...
I have a question for you.
It wasn't subtle. It was like a jackhammer, you know?
Do you think that Alicent wants to sit on the Iron Throne? Like the way that Rhaenys asks her, have you ever thought about sitting on the Iron Throne? Because this is one of those places where I feel as though Alicent's face gives an answer, but I think it's one that's open to interpretation.
Yeah, I think she has, but I think she's been so conditioned to believe that that's not her place that any time it would like, you know, kind of like crawl its way to the surface, she would just smush it right back down.
Yeah.
Like not even acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. I kind of felt like, yes, she's thought about it, and the answer is no. Like partially the conditioning and partially also she's been kind of regent ruling for a while, and it seems like a huge headache. And maybe it's better to be the person behind than the person sitting in the throne, you know?
There's almost the implication that she's asking her, like with that question, do you believe a woman can sit on the Iron Throne?
Interesting.
Because she's coming to Rhaenys like, oh, it should have been you, it should have been you. But I don't think that Alicent is really open to the idea of stepping out of the norms of society. So, like, I don't think she would back a woman on the throne anyways, unless it was, like you said, from the sidelines.
Yeah.
Like, within the societal way that it's okay.
That's okay for her to do that. Yeah.
Right, which is like what we see with Cersei,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about that with Cersei.
But yeah, it's just kind of like it's rehashing a lot of stuff from A Song of Ice and Fire and A Game of Thrones, but like it's just much more blunt here. It's much more forceful, I feel like, which isn't a bad thing. I think it was good because it's going to, for people who like haven't thought about this in the context that we talk about this stuff all the time. So it's not like something new, but I think maybe they had to make it this way so it like really breaks through to someone who'd never really given the thought to it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like when we talk about these types of things, like it's so almost daily to the point where like in this instance, like the way that it's just kind of like it's getting like hit in the face with the bat is like, okay, I get it. I see it. I got it. Understood. You know what I mean?
Yes, I was actually thinking exactly that thing. Like while you were sitting there thinking, I was like, I wonder if part of it has to do with the fact that this is like normal, daily, immersive conversation topics for the two of us. Like,
Right.
and it's the same for me and like almost all of my friends. Like we talk about gender inequality frequently, if not on a
Right.
daily basis, a weekly basis minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, but not everyone does. And so like maybe it does have to be this, hey guys, pay
Yeah.
attention. Like
Flashing,
yeah,
blinking,
big
neon light.
look at this, look at this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, maybe that is exactly what it needs to be. And
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, consider, I mean, no offense to anyone, but considering what the general population draw has been for fantasy series, maybe a little nudge in the direction of what the plight of women is
Mm-hmm.
not such a bad thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, because I mean, really, it sucks. It's still, nope. You know what? This is not the place. This is not.
This is not the place. This is not the place. No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. We'll talk more about Rhaenys because she's got stuff coming up ahead.
She's magnificent.
So we move to Mysaria meeting with Otto, and she has hidden Aegon away in like the weirdest place ever. Okay. I don't know. I don't know.
There, just hide right there.
Right. She wants these child fighting pits closed.
I love it.
And Otto gives like this total a-hole boss line where he's like, I'll look into it. It's like, Mysaria, don't take that. Come on, don't take that.
By the way, after this conversation, move. Get out of town. Like
right?
When he's like, oh, I'll remember. I was like, oh, that means it's time to relocate, girl.
Right?
Find a new place to stay.
Right? See, okay, because later on there's that burning building.
Is that
and
her
I was
building?
Like, that's what I thought. I was like, so because Laris, this was so hard. I didn't catch it until the second watch because I was so thrown by all the ankle action. But he's informing her like, hey, look, there's spies in the Red Keep, and Otto pretty much knows about it. If he's implicating Mysaria needing to be killed and taken care of so that Otto no longer has this advantage as well, because not only do the spies need taken care of, but this whole situation with Otto and Mysaria, does he know about this because of his B-boys? Like, do we have different factions of spies now?
Oof.
So with this burning building, I didn't know if it was Otto or if it was Alicent via Laris.
Yeah. Oof.
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
That's, you know what? Yeah. I just assumed Otto. I figured he'd just come back and been like, no one tells me that anyone other than me put my grandson on the throne. Like, I'm the guy, not you. Where she says, there is no power but that which the people give you.
People allow you to take.
Exactly.
Yep, I wrote that one down too.
Again, there were so many moments, just quick little bits of dialogue throughout the entire episode where I was like, yeah, wouldn't it just be amazing if there would be like this, please forgive me, like a quasi-French Revolution, the Sans-Culotte uprise in King's Landing, and they take over the nobility, and you have like this reminder from the people, from women of the city, that you don't get to be in charge without our permission. And I think that would be kind of a fun twist to take, making them a player in the design of government as well as all of the noble houses, because usually it's just the noble houses and the people that like do their thing. If we could like create something outside the noble houses, that might be kind of cool too.
I just don't know if in this setting it's possible because it's like
That's
we
true.
have dragons. So like what are you going to do? Like step to someone with a dragon? It's not happening.
Good
It's not
point.
happening.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm thinking back to, I think it was a quote by Jorah Mormont at one point where they're talking about like what the wants of the common people are. And it's like, you know, they want a good harvest and they want their kids to be born healthy. They don't care who sits on the Iron Throne.
Nope.
Like, it means nothing to them. Another day, another asshole, right?
Yeah. 0 fucks given.
I'm interested to see where this goes with Massaria because if she has backing and she's got like an army of people waiting for some reason to start a revolution, cool. I just think it would be so easy to stamp out with dragons.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
I'd still like to see it though.
Right? I mean, I think you're right. It could be a very, very short-lived thing, but it could be kind of fun. It is interesting that she does make that comment that, you know, you would not be getting Aegon if I weren't telling you.
Right.
For the right price, because she obviously makes a profit off of this.
I don't know. To me okay. So like I don't know how I feel about this because if she was really for the people and she was really like, you know, wanting to end this and shut it down, why the hell did she deliver Aegon? Why?
Right?
Like he's the one who likes it. He's the one hanging down there with his bastards like fighting in the slave pits. But like she's like, "Oh, I want this to end." Well, like
Amber.
Here's what? Did I just ruin it for you?
You're so right.
Maybe she's also just a really terrible person and she just wants money or power of her own.
Because it is very contradictory, isn't it? She's like, I want this thing.
You want power? Kill the heir.
Kill
He's right
the
there.
heir. Yeah.
He's what? Your fruit fly? Like, just swat at him. Be done with it.
Garbage person. Just toss him out to the curb. Oh man, you know what? What a weird twist that would have been. Aegon gets like nixed by
knifed
the White Worm, and instead of like pulling out a live Aegon from the weird hidey hole, they pull out his corpse.
That was so weird. What was he doing in there? Like, I know he was supposed to be passed out or whatever.
Napping. This is my favorite like nap spot.
I know, right? On the cold concrete.
After I go watch feral children fight each other, this place just calms me right down. What the fuck? But I mean, I'll poke at stuff and still love the episode. But yeah, that's a really, really, really good question. God. Just kill Aegon.
I don't know. Maybe, maybe there would be witnesses. Like, everyone seems to know that's Aegon. So, like, maybe it would be too dangerous for her. I'm trying to, like, think of things.
Anything. Yeah, the opportunity you had.
So many opportunities this episode.
Agreed. I was just thinking that as well. Yep.
So Otto and Alicent meet up. They don't see eye to eye. She doesn't want to do a murder, but he's like cool with it. And she wants to send terms to Dragonstone instead.
Yep. The lines, I'll just real quick read the 3 dialogue lines that I really liked.
Yeah.
Alicent, our hearts were never one. I wanted whatever you pressed upon me to want. That, yes. Yep. And then reluctance to murder is not a weakness. And I liked that. Especially in shows like this, violence is so frequently just the quick answer. And so I went from being like, I fucking hate Alicent to being, oh God, you're just a really fucked up human being. I'm sorry. Okay, so actually, because she does seem like she's gotten to this point where she's just had it with her dad. Like at the end of that, she's like, this is what's happening. Aegon's going to be anointed tomorrow. Because at that point, she's got Aegon, right? Like that's what she's telling her dad. She's like, I have him. We're going to be making him king tomorrow. everybody's going to be there. And then her dad says something stupid like, you look so much like your mother in some lights. And she has like another really great facial reaction to it. I feel as though at that point, she's just, when she talks to Rhaenys, she talks about peace. And then later when she's sitting with Aegon, she says we need to find a path away from callousness and cruelty. I feel like she wants whatever outcome this is to be as peaceful as possible. She does not want Rhaenyra to be killed. She does not want Daemon to be killed. She does not want the children that they have to be killed.
It doesn't matter because this whole situation has started, right? Like from the point that she said, like, yeah, I think you said Aegon's name. Like, this is like the beginning of like the Hatfield and McCoys. Mm-hmm. Like, there is going to be constant bloodshed and murder over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So if she didn't want this violence, then she should have kept her mouth shut.
That's
like, it's
true.
That simple to me. Like, she has ambition. Definitely.
I don't think that Alicent is free of ambition at all. And I think, like you said, had she wanted things to just kind of keep going as they were, she would have just like not said anything. But this is like her deepest heart's desire is for one of her children to be king.
She's so enslaved by what she feels she has to do and who she has to be, I think. But
the conditioning is strong on this one.
I like to think in an alternate universe, like she and her family could go be somewhere happy. She could remarry someone who was good and kind to her. And
wouldn't that be cool?
You know, like,
that's not going to happen.
That's not how this works.
Nope. No.
Not how this works.
No, instead the next scene is the foot scene with Larys and Alicent.
Yeah. I had to watch this twice to actually listen to the dialogue because I was so... I was like, what is going on? What is going on?
Yeah.
At first I was like, oh, her feet hurt. And then I was like, oh, nope. That is not what's happening.
This is not about her getting comfortable.
This is not about Alicent's bunions.
No. Oh my God.
Let's keep going because we talked about this.
We have.
Aegon sobers up. He eats some gruel. Eric and Eric free Rhaenys, or Eric. One of them frees Rhaenys, and there's that overhead shot with like the burning building. So like they are very, very far from the castle at this point.
Yeah.
We've got Alicent and Aegon in their carriage.
Do you love me, Mom? Do you love me?
But then when he sees the dagger that I guess he's supposed to assume that it was left to him by his father, he's kind of like, he really does love me. You know, like he does think I'm the one. Like it's the sacred dagger because of reasons and prophecy that he's not supposed to know about.
That was the other thing. I was like, did Viserys ever tell him anything to do with the dagger?
And if everyone knows about this prophecy, Alicent is really a dum-dum
for
getting it wrong.
Yeah. Extra dum-dum.
Anywho.
I don't know.
The bells are ringing. Everyone is ushered into the sept. Otto has a really nice speech. Aegon is named king, and the crowd goes wild. We do have Aegon, like, walking in this sword tunnel.
Yeah. This scene.
Tracy, I don't want like harp on this episode because I thought it was good.
Yeah. But please do. Feel free. I'm here for
Watch this whole scene without the soundtrack, without the music.
Ooh,
because as I was watching it the first time, I was like getting a little bit emotional, and this is just that's how good like the theme is to this music. Like the songs are so good where I'm just like so overwhelmed with emotion. And then I watched this again without sound, just with subtitles on. It looks goofy as hell. This whole sword tunnel. It's like every bad wedding where they do the
I was just thinking the
bridal
bad
thing.
wedding thing. Yes.
It's the bad
yes.
wedding thing. And then he's like having this moment where he's doing like the cheesy fist pumping, but with a sword.
I will have to watch it. I will have to watch it that way.
I don't know. The soundtrack is bumping though. It is so good. The music is
really,
so great.
It really is. I agree. That's one of the things that's really stood out to me is how good the music is. Brilliant. Brilliant. It's so pretty. And I am a thumbs up for keeping the original theme song. Because, I mean, who doesn't love ba 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 ba? Like, you hear it. It's right there. You're there.
Just the music alone was enough to totally change how I felt about one certain scene. You know what I mean? And it's so interesting, like, how open we are to manipulation, like, via noises and music. And I'm not saying that it makes it a bad thing for the show, but it just struck me how absolutely different this scene looked without all the trumpets and all of the music.
Gonna go watch it like that. I'll have to see it.
And also, like, you mean to tell me that the City Watch had this whole routine ready to go, like didn't even know the king was dead, and they planned out this whole big thing? Come on.
Yeah, it is pretty inelaborate as far as coronation ceremonies go. When you think about coronation ceremonies, you think like elaborate and all the lords from all over the place. And of course they can't do that. Like there hasn't even been enough time to like let Rhaenyra know that her dad's dead. So all within a matter of like what, maybe 24 hours, Viserys is dead. He's wrapped up and ready to be whatever it is that they do, burn him or whatnot. And like his son is made king by like the next morning. And yet sword guys,
they were ready to go, Tracy. I think these were like the City Watch guards, not like the White Cloaks or anything. These are like the dudes who, I'm doing like air quotes, protect the city, but they're pretty much just thugs. So like,
yeah. I mean, they were in such a big hurry getting everybody from King's Landing into that big building that I'm pretty sure they brought sheep with them.
Yeah.
That's how fancy this is. I got my favorite goat, my favorite sheep, off to the coronation ceremony. I do like how Rhaenys gets kind of like pushed into this. There's no way she would have been allowed at that coronation ceremony otherwise. And so how she gets separated from one of the Erics on the way to this and then is like, this is what's going down? Is this what I think it's going to be? And then it sure is.
Okay. So like, can we get right to the end with this?
Please.
All right. This might be like one of my favorite scenes in the series.
This
is
cool.
Hands down. It was so cool. But again, on the rewatch, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Like, okay, first watch, I like jaw hanging open, like, oh, they did it. They did it. My girl, I love you. She's back. Like, she's in this. We're good. Yeah. She's not getting locked in her room. She is out of here. And I'm like so hype about it. Yeah. Ugh. And also, like, I think Melee's is my favorite. Like, oh, I love this dragon. She's pretty. So Godzilla-like. Mm-hmm. She's the fast one. Mm-hmm. And she's really old and just kind of, like, bitchy and awesome. I love her. The dragon, not Rhaenys. She's awesome, too. But, so we had that aerial shot. They're very far away from the castle. Mm-hmm. So unless the dragon pit was like just right next door somewhere, how in the hell did she get her dragon?
That's what I was wondering.
Did she have a dragon whistle? Yeah. That he just like came to her and burst through the floor? Or she came through and burst through the floor? And also, when did she have time to do a wardrobe change?
Get her armor on!
Right? Was she wearing it under her cloak?
I don't know. That was my other question too. I was like, so you had time to get your armor on, get your dragon, somehow find an underground tunnel, and come up through the bottom of the floor. I mean, seriously, super cool. But how did you have time to do all of that? And is this the beast beneath the boards that Helena?
Yeah.
You think so? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. There was this really great moment where, like, just for a flash, you can see Helena's face as all of this is going down. And she doesn't seem surprised.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem scared. She almost looks reverent. Again, the way, like, the CGI and everything, the dragon with all of the spikes around the head where it's almost like a crown. And its writer being the queen that never was. Like, it's just, you know, so much of it got me where I was like, oh, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
And, like, her armor, this was one of those situations where Game of Thrones sometimes really, like, tones down the saturation, so everything looks a little bit muddled and it's not very bright. And this was one of those situations where I was like, damn, I really want to see her armor up close because it's like a brilliant red color and it's awesome
She
looking.
matches her dragon.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, girl, get out. You're too cool.
I love you
too
so
cool.
much, my dragon. We shall match, you and me.
Right?
I love that.
It's just a fun, like, it was a really fun moment. And if I don't think about it too hard and get caught up on, like, where did her armor come from? Like, does she have a dragon whistle? Is the dragon pit, like, right beneath the sept? And, like, I just don't know about it. Like,
maybe it is. Maybe someone will let us know, like, that it's like really close by and we just don't know it. But
right.
Because I mean, I had the exact same question. I was loving it. And then I was like, wait a minute. I think that the timing on that scene, I mean, other than the whole how did all of that happen, I thought they paced it really well as to the will she, won't she question. Like, it didn't leave you hanging for too terribly long. But I always felt like Rhaenys was, like, right on the edge of a Dracarys moment. And then when she wasn't, I was like, that feels more right. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really think that she would, but there was still just that little bit of a question. Would she do it? Would she eliminate everyone just right there?
I don't think she would be tore up about losing Alicent and Aegon, but, like, there were innocent people there. Like, I think of Helena and, you know, Rhaenyra as a mother, as a grandmother. I think, like, that's just not in her character, you know, like, the loss of lives and the innocence of it all. But she did just, like, murder, like, a room of hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
To make a really vivid point. We hear you, Rhaenys. We hear you. You're mad. You have reason.
Here's how I'll explain it. Here's how I'll hand wave it.
Okay.
So she has this, you know, like, mental connection with her dragon. And we've seen this in Game of Thrones. Like, Dany's in danger and Drogon just fucking shows up out of nowhere, like, get on my back, it's time to go, love you. So, like, this is kind of like a similar situation. It would make more sense to me is if Rhaenys was in the room and, like, the dragon erupted through the floor and, like, she climbed on afterwards. That's how I would have done it.
That would have made so much more sense.
And all of the chaos and debris and rubble, like, I don't know, like, it kind of looked like she was already on her dragon's back. So, like, I don't know, maybe she didn't know where she was coming up at. Like, maybe she didn't know where she would erupt from.
Yeah, it felt real intentional. It felt like she knew.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, questions.
I like that she made the choice not to do it. You know, I mean, I know it would have changed the story drastically, of course, if that was the decision that had been made. And, you know, we would not be going on to another season.
She's like, I won't kill innocent nobility.
Right.
But poor people, your game. Like...
Which is why we need a peasant uprising. Right. They figure out how to take out the dragons somehow. Anyway, as far as her like just leaving after this and Alicent standing there with freshly crowned Aegon, just God, that guy. And of course, like when everybody's cheering for him, he's like, this is gonna be so bad. It's gonna be so bad. It's gonna be so bad.
I'm just excited for next week.
Yeah.
I'm ready for Daemon to put on his murder cloak, and
I think you're gonna get your wish next week too, potentially. Like if Rhaenys is off to warn Rhaenyra and Daemon need to find allies fast. Like it'll be interesting to see if there's like kind of a mini barrage of new people introduced like close to the end, so we have more to look forward to for next season too.
There's going to be a lot of dragons flying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how things are going to get split up because I feel like someone's going to need to go to King's Landing ASAP, but they have their dragons there. Like,
yeah,
one isn't going to cut it.